Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. So today I'm going to do a review about a video that is entitled Azuri the Missing Piece. So I'm going to interpret the storyline based on my understanding of the video. So let's get started. To start off, this video started when the main character named Eddie is having a dream. She's having a weird dream where there's somebody who's trying to kill her in the dreams just because she doesn't remember anything. Like, that is suspicious. And then she suddenly woke up. When she woke up, she was covered in sweat. Luckily, her mom goes to check up on her. But however, the sister of hers is annoyed because she has been having weird and scary dreams for a while. So the next weird thing that happens was when Eddie and her sister Ruby goes out for a walk. They Eddie suddenly bumped into Eddie accidentally bumped into someone, and there's nothing weird about like bumping into someone. I think that's normal. But what is weird is when the stranger said something like, "That is weird," when Eddie referred to Ruby as her older sister. I think this statement alone, like this interaction, slowly builds up my suspicion towards Eddie. Next, Eddie and Ruby goes out to her usual walk again together at the evening. But little did they know, there's something about to happen to them. Ruby is suddenly adopted. Ruby is suddenly abducted by a strangers who wore full black outfit, and by the time Eddie realized it, it was too late. Why? Because she was on the phone. After 15 days, Ruby goes missing. She suddenly comes back home, and Ruby is so glad. Eddie is so glad to meet Ruby back again. But this is the point where all the weird things happens. So there's one time that Ruby decided to take a mechanical pencil and started clicking it closer to Eddie's eyes. Eddie is actually sleeping, but she's definitely bothered with the sound that it makes. And the next morning, Eddie did ask Ruby if it was Ruby's doing. However, Ruby refused to admit it that it was her doing, and she convinced Eddie that nothing like that has ever happened. All the weird things that happens led to Eddie taking the action to go to the police station to report this. She thinks that all of this thing there's something wrong. So that's why she confessed that all the suspicion that she had towards her so-called family in the house to the police. However, all the information that she spilled is actually still absurd for the police to consume. However, there's one thing that the police find out about Eddie. Based on the data of their system about Eddie, she's actually 40 years old. But Eddie refused to believe it. She believes that she's still 20 years old. That's why she goes in a mirror on a toilet to check whether she is 20 years old. But the visual on the mirror says otherwise. She looks old, and she's nothing like her younger self. By watching this scene, I'm definitely sure that there is something wrong with her, and she's kind of sort of like stuck in the past. Started to accuse Eddie for being a killer of a former family who lives in the same exact house that they are living in. However, Eddie refused to believe it because she had no recollection of memory about her doing that. That's why they actually out that her fake dad, which is Professor George, is actually a hypnotist expert that Ruby hired specifically for Eddie just to regain her memory back so that she could recall what she did years ago. There are two crazy plot twists that I found out in the storyline. One is where it turns out that it was a sister of the former family that is the one who is behind all of this scheme of killing. But when she reached to Eddie when the plan does not go well because Eddie turns out to kill one of the nephews too. So she reached. In 1 hour, the kid who Eddie told to count 1 to 100 is actually Ruby all along. So, at last, Eddie finally regained all her memory back again, but it was already too late. She's finally under arrest of the crime that she did years ago for killing the former family that is living in the house. In conclusion, I totally agree that with the statement that states desperation can lead to immortal choices. Why? Because in life, there are times where you have to choose to do the good or bad things. No matter what happens, I think you should always choose the good things because by doing good things, it costs 0 cents. But by doing bad things, there will always have consequences that will follow you behind your back. So I think that is all from me for now. Thank you. Bye.